This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast Mailbag. It is actually Thursday, doing this a little late, July 27th, 2023, as we are going to get to the mailbag. 1 second, but I want to welcome a brand new patron, Anthony Capella. Welcome to the family, man. Welcome to the ad-free experience and a whole lot more on the SmackDown tier. I hope you enjoy everything. You can now also listen to the exclusive podcast that was done a week or two ago with Just Incredible, and we got some really funny and memorable road stories with Michael Gross and myself that did that, and it was a lot of fun. So check that out, and let's get to the emails. Let's get to the emails right now, and let's start with Rocky T. I think we're gonna start with Rocky T. He's checking in once again. He's got a next week Raw review reminder. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you. I'm very glad you did that because, again, I did not remember. So Rocky T will be conducting the Raw review with me next week. There you go. Roxanne Perez update. So think Booker T Stone Cold Supermarket Brawl. Blair Davenport enters a small corner store, and Roxanne attacks from behind as she enters the store. Now, this was short and sweet, nowhere near the classic of Austin and Booker, but I can appreciate the effort from the two ladies. We finally get the one-on-one match between Roxanne and Blair at the Great American Bash in a Weapons Wild match. A couple of thoughts here. Now, I didn't see this, Rocky T. Thank you for the Roxanne Perez update, by the way. Looking forward to our Raw review. Why are there cameras filming a wrestler in a store? Now, you could apply this logic to Austin and Booker as well. You know, you have to kind of transplant your brain out of your body into some, random amorphous place to be able to accept this. But why there are actual cameras in a store following a wrestler doesn't make any sense. But this is still fun. Whenever this happens, if it happens sparingly, it's still fun. And the Weapons Wild match, I'm going to assume that this is also just another fancy way, just like the tribal combat, just a fancy way of saying no DQ. Maybe there'll be extra weapons, but no DQ. You know, so I'm fine with the branding. It's marketing. I understand it. So cool stuff. Thanks, Rocky. Alrighty. Next up on the list here, we have, let's get to Chandler. And he says, sending this in the middle of work, so my brain is fried. And I can't think of a clever opening, so let's just get to it. Want to start with something that's been on my mind since Monday. The Logan Paul and Ricochet promos have not been very good. It's just them saying third-grade insults at each other and expecting people to pop for it. And 2 weeks ago, Logan Paul said, I'm not a social media star. Well, I think he said YouTube star, but yeah. And then proceeds to tell some guy in the crowd he's going to make him famous while filming them. Yeah, that's a good point. Excuse me, I think that's the kind of thing that's going to come with time with Logan Paul. And to be fair, cutting promos in some respects is more difficult than what happens in the ring and what you do in the ring. Promos are not easy. You're live. Logan Paul does not have a whole lot of experience in WWE with live promos. So I'll give him a pass. And also Ricochet, who by the same token, even though he's been in WWE much longer and had infinitely more matches than Logan Paul in-ring live minutes, has also not had a whole lot of time in front of a microphone on the main roster. And so both of them, I would say, have comparable experience, even though Ricochet has been in WWE much longer and in the ring much longer. So, I actually don't think they've been as bad as you have. I agree the insults have been very sophomoric, but I actually have been more invested in this program than I thought it would be. Okay, I love seeing Dom with the title. It's so good. He makes it even his heat even better. But they're giving him the Seth treatment and having him defend the title every night against everyone. even if they're not NXT superstars. Yeah, but I guess the idea is that WWE, everyone's a WWE superstar, even no matter what brand you're on. And also NXT wasn't involved in the draft. NXT is this no man's land. So I will accept that because NXT is a no man's land. Now, I don't want Dom showing up on SmackDown. That doesn't give him free reign because he's an NXT North American champion show up on SmackDown. That is inexcusable. I don't like that. This is where no one says anything. The announcers don't say anything. Fans don't seem to care. Oh, well, we got a cool match. I am a very big proponent of sticking to the brand rules. Most people aren't that I guess outraged about it, but that's how I feel. Cody and Brock needs a stipulation. It can't just be a regular match. They've built this for 4 months and Brock hasn't said a word. We need something to make this exciting. I wouldn't hold your breath, Chandler. I've been screaming about this since May, that Brock Lesnar's more than capable of just giving us a reason. Rather, creative is more than capable of using Brock to give us a reason. I know that they're leaning on Cody to cover both guys' promos side of things, and they've speculated on reasons. Brock Lesnar has his own voice. We can hear why. At this point, they're at the tail end, at the very culmination and completion of this program. We're not going to get a reason. But I agree with the stipulation. The stipulation, there needs to be something. There needs to be something involved in this with the stipulation. This is built to a point where it feels like WrestleMania. I forget what it was. WrestleMania 23, maybe 22, with Randy Orton and Triple H, and they were beating the hell out of each other, invading each other's homes, and the match ended up being a regular wrestling match. You can't do that. This can't be a regular wrestling match. But no reason is insulting. I mean, I don't know how more fans aren't, saying something about this. They give WWE a pass because, well, star power, it's Brock. Well, who cares? No one's immune to basic storytelling, reason, and logic. Nobody. All right. I'm sensing a triple threat between Shinsuke, Bronson, and Ciampa. I like the idea of a triple threat. That's not for the title. Yeah, but I'm with you, totally with you. WWE wouldn't look at this as a pay-per-view worthy matchup, and especially if nothing's on the line. They would put something on the line. It wouldn't just be a random triple threat for pride, even though I would be okay with that. Not everything needs to have a stipulation, and everything can just be about winning and trying to get yourself to that next level. But WWE sometimes doesn't value winning like they do with special stipulations. So, Ronda and Shayna is very weird. It seems like there's not a heel and face. Yeah, I've been saying that. A lot of fans have been saying that. I think they've landed on Shayna being a quasi-babyface. At least she's the closest thing to a babyface that they have in this match, so I'm leaning Shayna. The crowd has, I guess, anointed her as the more sympathetic character, even though Shayna's the one that attacked Ronda. I would agree. Yeah. It's very weird, and I don't think this is going more than SummerSlam. I have a feeling Shotzi's new character is going to be good, but it seems like a story Bray Wyatt would write. That's it for this week. I mean, who knows? It just means she's going through a transition, and her look is going to be new and rebranded, and no more ridiculous Power Wheels taking care of business tank, that shoots, I don't know, rubber balls or T-shirts or whatever the hell. I mean, so that's one good thing. Thanks, Chandler. All right. I know we did have another patron here. Let me dig that up here. We have, I believe it is no, I got that wrong. It is Cam. That's who it is. Cam. Let's see what he says. Cam says, don't know if you saw, but right when Becky was coming out on Raw, there was a gentleman in the crowd with a sign that read, Cody, change your catchphrase. Man, it was gold. No, I did not see this. Oh, no, I did not. Who is that man? Can we put a bounty on him in a good way? There's a reward, not a bounty. We'll put a reward out there. I'll put a reward out there for someone to identify this man. Please. Maybe he's a fan of the show. I hear no one else complaining about it, so it could be an actual listener of the show. I mean, I literally hear no one else talking about this, but I don't know. I'm not some kind of pioneer. However, it has been a very, very, very scantily talked about topic. Very good. I'm going to now look for this. Thank you, Cam. Important stuff here on the WWE podcast. I mean, life-changing stuff we're talking about now. All right. Let's get back to the emails. And we're going to go to DJ Kuzmo. And he says, hey, or hello, WWE podcast and AEW podcast world. This is DJ Kuzmo. He's back at it again on our mailbag. With only 1 week away, 1 week till SummerSlam. Wow. It was like as if Money in the Bank was last week and we're now heading towards another PLE. I agree. I told you, this is insanely. This is how fast the summer goes. This is how fast our life goes, guys. It's crazy, right? Who would have thought that Judgment Day in 2023 would be this relevant and consistent week after week? I really thought when the group turned on Edge back in 2022 that it would be the end of the Judgment Day and that the group might eventually split up. Anyway, fast forward this year and they have been the main theme on Raw for many months. They're also appearing regularly on NXT since Dirty Dom won the North American Championship, and the group seems to be more united after Damian and Finn put their differences aside after that tease split, which almost happened. I wouldn't be so sure there, DJ. You know, that's the idea, is to make it look like all is well, right? They did the same thing in the Bloodline. I do not think all is well with Finn and Damian. And I also agree that the Judgment Day in 2022, when Edge was ousted and I complained about it, and I still to this day still do believe they did not get all the tread on the tire with Edge at the helm of the group, but it is in a much better position than any of us thought it could be. Anyway, I'm still thinking that Finn will turn babyface. He might be replaced with someone else, but in the meantime, the Judgment Day have been really good to watch on Raw and NXT. Interesting to see the creative direction for this group at or after SummerSlam, because it seems they will be Sami and KO's next opponents for the tag team belts. Yeah, but come on, DJ. I'm advocating for Indus Sher to attack Sami and Kevin. I agree that it could be the Judgment Day continuing to feud with Sami and KO, but I'm ready for the Indus Sher. You know, that's what I'm ready for. I'm advocating for your guys, man. By the way, I don't know if you saw the fan sign that said Eddie is your real dad this Raw Monday night on Raw, because I remember seeing that exact same sign from months past when Dirty Dom was about to get hit with the Glamazon from Beth Phoenix, and that same fan sign was perfectly placed behind Dirty Dom's head. Good times. Anyway, DJ Kuzmo signing off. All right. So, I did not see the sign. You guys pay attention to fan signs way more than I do, and that's, credit to you guys. And Eddie is your real dad. That's a sign that has actually been out there for 20 years. So, I mean, since the whole story on SmackDown with the custody of Dom, it's literally a 20-year-old sign, and it's still going. I love it. All right, thanks, DJ. We will get to your Veer Mahan report shortly. All righty. Who else we got? Let's get to Mason, and he says, let me talk to you. So I was thinking that the way they could turn Roman Reigns babyface when they actually do is that Solo betrays him. Eventually, he loses the title. He hits rock bottom. I guess that's a pun. And then Randy Orton comes looking for revenge for what the Bloodline did to him last year. Well, you want to strike when Randy Orton's a babyface and Roman Reigns is the heel. And if The Rock doesn't show up, I will say I think Randy Orton might attack Roman at the end of the show to set up Roman and Randy as the big next program. That's my guess. But again, with Solo betraying Roman, people are ready to cheer Solo. It's going to be difficult to do the other way around. But Roman does have to hit rock bottom. He does have to go through some sympathetic times. And it's been a while now. We've been booing Roman Reigns for 3 years. We've had our time. I think you could get another year out of it before you finally turn him babyface. And he will be a mega babyface, by the way. And and the Bloodline, I'm telling you, will be a babyface. When they reunite, they will be a massive babyface group. So they're just going to have a massive heel faction to counter them. So that's also going to have to be something they think about, who that is. All right. About LA Knight not winning his Invitational, I really hate it, but I can see where they're going with the LWO storyline. And if Santos Escobar does beat Theory, then LA Knight could attack Santos after the match or something like that. Yeah, it could be, but I think that they have bigger aspirations for LA Knight. If they're telling us he's not going to be Mr. Money in the Bank, he's not going to be U.S. champion, well, then where is he going? And there's no other title to fight to focus on Raw, or rather SmackDown, except for the Undisputed Championship around the waist of Roman Reigns, and presumably will remain around the waist of Roman Reigns post SummerSlam. I don't know. Are they, if your theory doesn't pan out and he actually is in the world, the U.S. title picture, and he still could be, then where do they do with LA Knight? Just have him continue to come out, get big pops, and then lose? See, that's why I've said it's not a sustainable strategy. All right, now for this week's question. What is the most painful thing you've seen happen on WWE programming? That's all. Oh, good, great question. I mean, a couple off the top of my head without doing any kind of research. I mean, The Undertaker diving over the top rope at WrestleMania 25 and nearly breaking his neck. That comes to mind. Kurt Angle getting pedigreed on the concrete floor in 2000, I think it was, in a match against Triple H and getting knocked out. Austin, of course, getting the infamous pile driver by Owen Hart in SummerSlam of 1997. Those are just a few that come to mind. Of course, many others. How many bloody noses and bloody faces that we've seen throughout the years. But yeah, great question. I'd like to pose that to the rest of the listeners and ask, what is the most painful thing you've seen? Great stuff there, Mason. Let's continue with Malachi. And Malachi says, it's been a while since I've written in, as I've been in a new relationship and she takes up all of my time. It's funny how some people, and we're all guilty of it, we sometimes disappear off the face of the earth when we get a girlfriend or boyfriend, right? All right, but I have still been watching wrestling every week and want to give my thoughts and some of the things that have been happening in the women's division. Well, first of all, let me just say, I thought you were going to say, and my girlfriend, assumingly, has decided not to let me watch wrestling, or maybe you haven't introduced her to that side of you yet, right? Sometimes you got to feel it out. Now, I remember I'm still the sole Bianca Belair defender on the podcast, but it's been hard for me to see her place after SummerSlam if she doesn't win the title back. She's too good and too much of a star to sit in catering, and she's, in my opinion, the biggest star on SmackDown not involved in the Bloodline or LA Knight. Do they put her in a tag team and have her chase the championship? Does she join this Bobby Lashley Street Profits thing? Does she go on to have a top singles non-title feud, which is so rare for women? I'm just worried about what she does the months after, and from August to December, because I fully see her becoming the first ever two-time Women's Rumble winner or first ever two-time Women's Elimination Chamber winner. Also, I'm very interested in the potential of this Bayley-Io rivalry. I think Charlotte should tap and pin Asuka at SummerSlam, then Io should cash in and hold the title for a month to give her a little run, and then at Payback you do Charlotte versus Io with Bayley finally turning and costing Io the title. That will have a Charlotte at a 16-time championship and can lead to a good match of Charlotte versus Bayley versus Io down the road. All I ask is they keep Asuka away from the title as far as possible until they let her speak clear English like I've heard her do before in interviews. That's all I got. What are your thoughts? All right. A lot of fantasy booking here, but I'll touch on some general concepts that you mentioned. The fact that if Bianca loses at SummerSlam, are you concerned? Well, I'm more concerned, or was more concerned about her as women's champion prior to her losing the belt, when they were just trotting her out there with the same message every week, sitting at ringside, not on commentary, saying the same things. There was just a rinse and repeat type version of Bianca that I thought was damaging. That was more concerning than this. I mean, after SummerSlam, you could do a number of things. The things that you mentioned. They could have her join the Street Profits, and do the Bobby Lashley thing, and obviously the relationship between Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. But I think, honestly, Bianca Belair still belongs as a single star. Unless you're going to turn her heel, which again I'm still a big proponent of. I think they'll keep her babyface, chasing the championship, eventually leading to a Charlotte-Bianca one-on-one. I think that's where they're going. Even if Bianca doesn't win at SummerSlam, and I don't think she will, Charlotte I think will, and then you get to Bianca and Charlotte as a multi-month program. That's probably where they're going in the short term. Now in the long term, man, that's really hard to tell right now. She could be a two-time Women's Rumble winner, absolutely. And I have no problem with that either. But the Bayley-Io rivalry, we're waiting on it. They keep teasing it, then everything looks good, then teasing it, then everything looks good. It's very much akin to the Finn Balor-Damian Priest rivalry that is being teased, and then everything looks good. They haven't pulled the trigger on this yet. I think they will. I think that Bayley and Io need one another because Damage Control, I believe, is Damage Control still a thing? Do they still call it Damage Control? I think they do, but no one cares about Damage Control as a faction. I mean, there's literally no one that cares about them as a faction. It never caught on. It just didn't, and that's the way things go sometimes. But I think Io and Bayley is the much more interesting road to go, and absolutely Bayley and Io right now could be a fun rivalry. But does Io cash in, right? Maybe you have Charlotte win, and then Io cashes in on Charlotte. Who knows? There's a lot of places they could go here. But Asuka, last point here, Asuka needs to stay the hell away. I agree. And I said this in my podcast last week, and I stand by it. This is actually coming from Anthony DeMarco. I do agree Asuka's boring. She's boring and has been for quite some time. And that's not a referendum on her in-ring work. Her in-ring work has never, ever been a problem. It's always been her character, and the ceiling that she's at now is starting to become more apparent than it ever has in her career. When you find her boring, it means you're doing the same thing. And I know she got a haircut and put on some new clothes, but it's still the same Asuka, saying the same things. And her inability to cut a promo, or WWE to let her cut a promo, is more of a glaring problem now than it ever has been in her career. It's a massive drawback to Asuka. Massive. Same with Shinsuke Nakamura. If you can't speak to your base audience, you have a problem. Plain and simple. So, all right. Thank you. Let's get to MJ from Australia. Grayson Waller's biggest fan. And Marcus says, I have been predicting a Judgment Day gold photo op since I thought Priest would win Money in the Bank. We may have had to wait one more PLE to get there, but I think WWE have to give Finn the win for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. Now that Dom has the North American title, it makes even more sense to me to allow Finn to get his revenge on Seth and end up with all 4 Judgment Day members having a prop. They can back up their statement of, quote, running Raw. Remember, we haven't seen anyone lose a men's world title since WrestleMania 38, more than 15 months ago when Brock lost to Roman. It needs to happen, and we need to see the pain it causes someone. This gives us the benefit of ramping up the tension between Finn and Priest for the cash-in, but also a rubber match between Finn and Seth. I could also see Seth continually beaten down 4-on-1 as he was this week, which might bring together the 4 of KO, Sammy, Becky, and Seth, stringing this out until Survivor Series with some kind of 4-on-4 intergender elimination match. Boy, I really like that. Now, I'm usually not a big proponent of fantasy booking out, but you laid out something that makes total sense to me. I have been a big, a loud voice against Seth losing, only because I see what WWE is trying to do in being the anti-Roman of Seth, and Seth has barely had it, a couple of months. And so there is the argument of not really allowing Seth's title reign to breathe. It is still relatively new in the grand scheme of things, but is that worth the sacrifice of the Judgment Day all carrying gold? Finn and Damian are teasing a breakup. You could again have a rubber match between Finn and Seth at Payback, and that continues. You're going to get a 4-star match right there. So yes, also brings Becky and Seth in, or Becky into the whole thing with KO and Sammy. And you have a 4-on-4 intergender match. Yes. I mean, I really like this. I do. The thing is, what about the world or the tag team titles, right? The undisputed tag team titles. First of all, they should just eliminate that down to a single championship belt physically for both men. If they did that for all the other championships that have been united, I've been a big proponent of that. But also, the world, or they keep saying that, the tag team championships, the undisputed ones, are they even being defended at SummerSlam? And then we're just going to ignore it again for another couple of months? Like, KO and Sammy need a tag team to defend their titles against, and I have been a big advocate of the end of year. So, separately, there may be the option of getting the World Heavyweight Championship on Edge one more time before he retires at WrestleMania 40 versus Cena. I love your idea there. Potentially revisiting briefly his feud with the Judgment Day and taking the title off either Finn or Priest if they still have it. Much easier story for Edge to win a title off of someone he has already beaten since his return than Roman. Yeah, look, I have always been a big supporter of Edge and Cena. I've said that, I mean, I don't know how for how long now. It just fits the narrative. But I don't like the title being on the line against Cena if that's the way they're going. It should be just focus on the retirement, not the championship, because there's no chance of Cena winning the World Heavyweight Championship. None. But would they give Edge one more run for a few months? Maybe. Maybe they do. You know, Edge is more than capable. But I don't think that he would fit the fighting champion narrative because his body is aged. He's got a lot of miles on that body. And if he's a babyface champion, you know what that means in WWE world. It means you need to just always tell the fans you're a fighting champion and will fight anyone at any time. It's a bunch of nonsense, of course, and I have stated many reasons why I think that is a very bad thing to say for babyfaces and for the championship, moreover. But I don't dislike this. I think that if Edge were to return to feud with someone in the Judgment Day, I don't think it should be Finn, though, because Finn and Edge have certainly worn out their welcome. But, yeah, Edge has yet to interject himself somewhere. Finally, if Voldemort is not back for WrestleMania 40, you guys know who we're talking about here, the only main event with a big story enough and believable enough would be Roman versus Seth, and Seth should be the one to take it from him, in my view. I get the view about it being in the future about being Gunther or Theory, but they can take it forward for many years to come anyway. I'm fantasy booking too hard, I think. Cheers, MJ. Well, thanks, MJ. If Dwayne, we'll call him Dwayne, we'll go that far, does return, I still don't believe the title should be on the line, but they certainly will put it on the line because it's a bigger match on paper. But I'm a much more believer in that whoever faces, if it's Seth facing Roman at Mania for the title instead of Dwayne, you would have a much better chance of Seth dethroning than Dwayne would, right? And there's a massive amount of history with Roman and Seth. Massive amount. And then Seth, maybe after Seth loses the belt, if he loses it at SummerSlam, there's a massive trade to Raw later in the year where Seth is traded for someone on SmackDown, and that's how Seth and Roman end up locking horns again, or Seth wins the Rumble. So, but there's also the LA Knight factor. A lot of moving parts. But I'm not a big Theory fan to the point where I think he should be the one to beat Roman. Gunther is much more in that conversation for me. Okay, let's see. I've got another one here, and this is Darren. Darren says, "Hey Matt, hope all is well. I told you in a mailbag a while back that I've recently got into WWE after not watching for almost 12 years. So I wanted to ask if a few big moments that I missed were actually surprises or if there were rumors and if you predicted these." Oh, wow. Okay. Well, now you're jogging my memory. Seth Rollins cash in at WrestleMania. If I remember correctly, I didn't predict it, but I remember saying there's an outside chance. So I'm not going to give myself credit retro 10 years ago. But I will say that I did say it was a possibility. Edge's return at the Rumble in 2020? No. Nobody saw that coming, which is why it was the pop that you heard. I mean, my God, one of the biggest pops in the last 10 years. So no, nobody knew this was happening. Jeff and Matt Hardy's return at WrestleMania 33? Again, can't give myself credit there. I knew they were in the area because I went to a wrestling show, non-WWE, locally in Orlando when I was there I was in person at WrestleMania 33, and Jeff and Matt Hardy showed up for an independent promotion, and I was like, oh, cool, they're in town. And I remember saying briefly, oh, that'd be cool if they showed up, and I didn't actually think they would, and I never thought it was going to happen, when I was at the show. However, I really hate this moment, and only because selfishly, it was the only moment throughout the entire pay-per-view that I decided to go get a T-shirt and leave my seat. It was during the tag team introductions. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get a T-shirt. And while I'm down in line waiting for a T-shirt, what music hits? Yeah, the Hardy Boys. So I'm very angry about this, not being able to be there for that exact moment. Thanks, Darren, for bringing up some past trauma. Alrighty, I think this is our last email here. This is from Chris and Gallia. So this is Chris and Gallia from Warspite, Alberta, Canada. And they say, remember us? So what do you want to talk about? Okay, I'm deleting this email right now. But they say, well, this week we're not really sure. We think we have lots to say on August 11th, though, because we're driving 5 hours to go to SmackDown in the Scotiabank Saddle Dome in Calgary, Alberta. We have some of the worst seats because we are spending more money on gas than tickets. We'll be in attendance screaming it's fight night, as we do every Friday from our 2-seater couch. This SmackDown is a must because it is the first SmackDown after SummerSlam, so of course we are called to go to it. We are wondering if the WWE podcast is big enough for us two mouthpieces of awesomeness from Warspite, one of which is a yearling fan. We are wanting to be your in-person correspondents from the nosebleed section. And in Calgary, we have the utmost belief we will see Jey Uso rocking his new undisputed heavyweight title on Canadian soil, giving the nod to Sami Zayn for what should have happened in Montreal. Chris and Gallia, unofficial temporary WWE correspondent. All right. Well, I have to disagree with, let's see, how many things here? Well, only one thing, really. And that is that Jey is going to win the undisputed championship from Roman. I think there's a very low chance of that because there's too much still left to be done with Roman as champion. There's still too much. Because Jey wins, and I said this about Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39 this year. He wins, and then what? Right? Then what? Because the reports are, and I believe this, it makes sense, and it feels right, that the Bloodline storyline is going to come to a stop, a conclusion at SummerSlam, and Roman's going to move on to somebody finally outside of the family. So that makes sense to me. And if that's the case, Jey Uso winning would mean that Roman is going to continue his program with Jey. It's just not likely. There's still, again, if you're asking me, well, what's there left to do with Roman? Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, those two have a massive history. Seth Rollins has yet to conclude his program with Roman Reigns for the championship. There's a lot of history there. What about LA Knight and Roman Reigns? That could be a whole hell of a lot of fun. Gunther and Roman Reigns for the title for it would be a whole hell of a lot of fun. There's still a lot to be told. Now, they don't have to exhaust every little avenue and turn over every single stone, but there's big glaring ones out there, and the title is important when he does get to these programs. So that's what I think. But hey, email me your email me. I guess what is it? Today's Thursday now, but I do stuff through Skype. So if you guys have Skype, maybe we can talk. All right. How about that? And we'd have to figure out a time, and I'm guessing that your time zone's a little different than mine. All right. Let's. I think that concludes the email portion of the show. So let's get to the Veer Mahan report from DJ Kuzma.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is DJ Kuzma back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record to you live on a Wednesday morning. And before we get to the Veer Mahan report, I gotta give a quick shout out and of course a quick message to my guy, none other than one half of the Blue Brand Brawlers. You heard him on the SmackDown review every Saturday morning, and I'm talking about none other than John C. John Carrasco. What's going on, Jonathan? Now, I know you had a tough couple of days last week with the passing of one of your family members, and of course you had, the problems with your voice box, but man, I hope you're back. I hope you're back for this Friday because we got a whole jam-packed show on what's going on with the Bloodline, with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso as we get closer to SummerSlam. So John C., my guy, I hope everything is going well with you, my friend. We missed you last week on the SmackDown Review podcast. Michael Ritter had to hold the fort for you, but hopefully you can come back this coming Saturday as you record for the SmackDown Review podcast with none other than the Blue Brand Brawlers. Now let's get to your favorite show to come on every single week on the Mailbag, and I'm talking about the Veer Mahaan Report. Now, the Veer Mahaan Report took place this past Monday night on Monday Night Raw, live from Tampa Bay, Florida. But we did not, for the, I guess you could say, second or third straight week, we did not get an appearance of the initiator of my guy, Veer Mahaan, of Sangha. And of course, we did not get an appearance of the modern-day Maharaja Jinder Mahal. But here's a quick update. They are at the Performance Center. They are back to their roots. They are back training in the Performance Center, getting themselves ready, because it seems like after SummerSlam, there might be a change with the Tag Team Championships. Hopefully, they split the belts, but they are second in line. I'm looking at this tag team of the Initiator, second in line after when the Judgment Day move out the way, which might be a couple of weeks. But other than that, hopefully these guys get an opportunity to go after the Tag Team Championships. And now we wait and wait and wait. Hopefully this will happen before the year is out. But anyway, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay with my friends, Michael Ritter, John C., and the Blue Brand Brawlers, and peace.
All right, DJ, thank you. And I believe that they're actually going to be very shortly after SummerSlam. I know that the Judgment Day, they might continue their program. If they do, it'll be it'll be a short order. I don't believe the Judgment Day are going to take the belts from Kevin and Sami. I still don't believe they are. I still believe it's going to be Veer Mahaan and Sangha. I still believe that it's going to be them attacking at SummerSlam, shortly after SummerSlam, or at Payback. But the fact that they're not on TV, the fact that they haven't done a whole lot with them is actually, to me, slightly encouraging if you want to put a silver lining on it, because it gets them out of the minds of fans. So when they start to, or when they do actually inject themselves in and attack Kevin and Sami, you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, because they've been out of your mind. So that's a bit of a silver lining, but at worst, as you said, DJ, they are second in line. All right, very good. Let's get to our next one.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore. So I wanted to talk about this Rhea and Raquel and Liv situation about what's the match for SummerSlam. I think what's going to happen, I think it's going to be Liv and Rhea for SummerSlam. And they're going to hold off for Raquel at Payback. I don't think they're going to do the match between Liv and Rhea at Raw. I don't think that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen at SummerSlam, I think. People are, Liv is super popular. I know some people don't like Liv Morgan, but I personally do. I'm not that big of a fan of her. That's really towards Becky Lynch for me. I'm a big fan of, but Liv is fine. And I think that match is happening at SummerSlam, and I think they're going to do Raquel and Rhea for Payback. After what happened on Monday, I just could see them making that official next week on Raw. So we'll see, but I think that's the direction they're heading with SummerSlam with Rhea Ripley. And so, yeah. And with Becky and Trish, I don't know. I'm ready for I'm expecting, maybe they'll do some type of stipulation. They're going to have, to do the thing on Raw if Becky wins, she gets Trish. So it's, and then we move on from this and we have Becky move on to Rhea Ripley headed into Payback or Fastlane. I don't think they can hold off to WrestleMania, but, I don't think it helped to hold up to WrestleMania. They could, but I don't know how that's going to happen. But that's my sense on what's happening with the Women's Championship at this time right now. So again, on SummerSlam, I think it'll be Liv and Rhea, and they'll hold off Raquel probably at Payback. So that's what I think, but we'll see. But that's it, just for a call time.
Yeah, good stuff, Kyle. So I think My only instinct to disagree with you is the fact that SummerSlam is a bigger pay-per-view than Payback or Fastlane. It's their WrestleMania of the summer, right? It's now stadium shows. And wouldn't you want the biggest match possible? And the bigger match is Raquel versus Rhea. I know Liv is she's a little fireball, right? Like she ends up, she never really ever wins the big one outside of that. Okay, outside of the championship against that she beat Ronda Rousey, and even then she only beat Ronda Rousey because she was at her weakest point. So there actually isn't really a ton of Liv moments where you could go, wow, she looked dominant there. And Rhea Ripley versus Raquel, from a physical standpoint, is much more appealing because Rhea Ripley has yet to meet her equal when it comes to strength and power. I know that Raquel is quote unquote injured, but I have a feeling that she'll come back on Raw. She'll come out limping, or at least in a knee brace, and that she will challenge Rhea, and Rhea will accept because she smells blood because Raquel is injured. And you could tell that story throughout the whole match of Raquel and her injury and Rhea targeting it throughout the entire match, and Raquel's fighting spirit and all this kind of stuff. It's just kind of psychology 101 when it comes to sympathy for a babyface, of which Raquel is just, I don't know how they're hanging on by threads with people turning on Raquel, I have to say. Liv is more likable, but that said, I still think that it's Raquel and Rhea. Now you could be right. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, nor is it implausible. But Liv and Rhea again is not as big of a match, even though Liv is healthy. And then you could have Raquel come out during the match. I mean that's possible, but that's how I feel about Raquel and Rhea. But Becky and Rhea, I think, is being saved. It could be saved for WrestleMania. But I think it could even be saved for Fastlane or Survivor Series. I think that they are probably not going to be able to go that long with Becky and Rhea not crossing paths. Specifically when Becky and Trish are concluding at SummerSlam, and then Becky has to move on to someone. It could be Rhea, but I think Raquel and Liv still have some untold story there. So Becky's probably not going to be till the end of the year. All right, good stuff, Kyle. Let's get to, I think this is actually our final voicemail, guys. Really short on the voicemails tonight, but let's do it.
Hey, Matt and today's podcast, it's New York, Kyle. So, when I first started doing the Cora Jade report after the last NXT TakeOver, what was it? I don't even remember what last one it was. I think it was, I don't remember what the last TakeOver was. Anyway, the last one, it was like 2 months ago. I first started doing this, it felt like Cora Jade was getting a push. Before that TakeOver, it felt like they were building her up. Now I'm kind of concerned now, because she gets a win, but then a loss. It gets always back and forth with the pattern. She gets a big win, then gets a big loss immediately after. She once again lost the feud this week. She had a candlestick match with Dana Brooke. Sure, made her developing Dana Brooke, or giving her a character and all, but still, really, you couldn't have the rousing star of Cora Jade win. Dana Brooke beat Cora Jade in a candlestick match, which should be Cora's stipulation technically, because Cora Jade comes out every week from her own little signature Triple H sledgehammer, a little metal candlestick. So it feels like it's her stipulation, almost like how Undertaker has the casket match. This candlestick match feels like a Cora Jade stipulation. You'd think she would win her stipulation, right? Not this time. Dana Brooke won. So that's annoying. This is basically Cora Jade's character in a nutshell since that takeover. Talks trash, is a good heel, has AJ Lee vibes, because she feels like a new AJ Lee. Almost. She talks trash, she's good on the mic, backs us up by winning the first match in the feud, but then she loses the blow-off match and loses the whole feud. That's basically her character in a nutshell. Wins the first match to back up her claims, then she loses the second match and loses the entire feud in the end. That's basically what happened here. This feels like the finale of the feud. I don't know anymore. I'm still keeping that hope because I'm really into her, but I'm worried. Because I think her win-loss record right now is 6-5, 6 wins, 5 losses. Yikes. Anyway, that's it. I'll talk to you guys next week. SummerSlam weekend.
Well, Kyle, that's the story of a lot of guys and gals that come up, right? It's not everyone can get wins. I mean, for every win, there's a loss, right? If someone wins, that means someone else loses. So the fact that it's a pattern here, I mean, I don't think it's that concerning. She's getting TV time, right? So there's that. Again, I'm not trying to completely counter your concerns. You could be valid, and this could end up being a whole bunch of. She could end up being a nothing burger, right? And she ends up just fading off into the distance, and the next thing you know, a year from now, she's released. I mean, that could be. I hope not, but it could be. But again, you're describing a lot of developmental talent's paths. So this is not an uncommon way for talent to get started and see how the crowd reacts, and more importantly, how the talent reacts to not winning all the time and losing programs in real life. You know what I mean? Like, that is actually something they look for, and to see how the talent deals with maybe their minutes getting reduced and also not winning their programs regularly. You know, and also she's a heel. So heels tend to lose more, at least the blow off anyway. So I'm going to try to put some cold water on your fire of concern and just say that. But cool. Good stuff, Kyle. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. A little bit of a short mailbag here, but it's the week before the SummerSlam extravaganza. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up here with SummerSlam next week. A lot to say, a lot to do, a lot of programs, a lot of preview shows and review shows and everything else that'll get going next week. And I hope everybody is ready for that as we roll into a major week in wrestling next week, and everyone's enjoying their summer. Enjoy the last part of July as we close in on August. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate it. Consider going ad-free at patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Follow us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is lighting up pretty good at WWE Podcast. And on Twitter, of course, WWE Podcast and WWEpodcast.com, or our merch, WWEpodcastshop.com. All right, I'm out of breath for my shameless promotions. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'll talk to you next time, and take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.